Captain Locke rode forward. The village had offered him a horse. A young gelding carried him onward to the capital. Yes, he had a plan. He had left at sunrise and been riding all day. The sun was hot above him. He and his horse were getting tired as the hour reached noon. Slipping off his horse, he rested in the shade of a large tree. The gelding wandered over to a small stream to sip on some cold water. Reaching into his bag, he pulled out a piece of bread to munch on while his steed picked at a bush. It was nice and relaxing. His eyelids felt heavy, and he let himself drift off into sleep. Something prodded him in the side, and his eyes snapped open. Branches had wrapped around him like long fingers. They were lifting him up into the air. The man struggled, but to no avail. He was stuck. The branches jutted into his clothes, but few found his skin. Blood seeped from his body and into the tree. Looking down, Captain Locke saw the sun-bleached bones of humans hidden amongst the roots and dirt. Welcome back to Mythical Phylogeny Adventures. I'm your guide, Jason. Danger can come in any form during your trials. Some you expect, like a dragon, a goblin, a snake, or a tiger. Yet a few expect to find themselves embroiled in a battle against a tree. That is what the Jubokko is. Today, we have found ourselves bound to a blood-sucking tree from Japan. Let's take a look at what has brought about such a fiendish yokai. There are several stories that tell us the origins of the Jubokko. Most speak of a massive battlefield where blood runs like a river amongst the unburied dead. So much death left a wicked energy in the air and birthed evil spirits. As a tree sprouted from the soaked soil, it drew in that energy until it became the Jubokko tree. Most described it as having a twisted and gnarled-looking body. Its dark leaves and wood. Surrounded by its roots is covered with bones of victims left to decay away. It remains quiet as it waits for prey to arrive. Once someone is within the shade of its leaves, only then does it act. It has long, finger-like branches, which it will use to grab its victim before it binds them and lifts them up into the air. Only then does it stab its victim with hollow branches to absorb their blood. Once they have been drained, the body is dropped to the ground. Scavengers can pick off the remnants, as the Jubokko is not spoken of attacking animals, only humans. So what do we have here? In simplest description, we have a predatory or carnivorous plant. This does sound like fantasy right away, but no, they are real. Namely, the Venus flytrap and the pitcher plants being the most common. These sort of plants usually grow in areas where the soil lacks certain nutrients necessary for growth. So, with the Jubokko being focused on blood, that means iron seems to be the missing element in its diet. Why? Remember the large-scale battle which had covered the land prior? Battle brings a few things. Blood and rotting bodies was talked about in the story, but what else? The land is trampled, fires are spread, and the ground is dug up. What all of this focuses on is disruption of the natural foliage. This means that the nutrient cycle in the area is temporarily unbalanced. But we have a problem here. The Jubokko is a tree, and they can take a decade or more to grow to full size. That means most of the damage from the battle is gone long before the tree is able to become predatory. But there is another option. That much blood will leave the ground iron heavy. Now, what if instead of being nutrient limited, is a nutrient abundant situation? Plants and animals need a variety of nutrients and elements to grow. Now, not all of them use the same elements in the same ratio. Silicon and calcium are often needed in invertebrates, but when one nutrient is limited, those that use less of it and more of another will dominate the population. Now, what is the ground around the Jubokko like? Heavy with iron? An essential mineral for plants for photosynthesis. This may allow a vampiric tree to out-photosynthesize other plants in the air and grow tall. Plants with a high chlorophyll count tend to be a dark green color. Oh, and what color is the Jubokko's leaves? They are a dark color. Yes, this could work. Jubokko could be a plant that is better able to utilize iron in its growth. Our tree could be high in chlorophyll due to the high iron content in the soil. But what happens once it gets to full size and has drained the soil around its roots of iron? That's when it becomes predatory. It still needs a high iron uptake to survive, thus goes on the offensive. First, it needs to move. Jubokko is described as making a creaking noise when it moves. Most trees make a sound like this in a heavy wind, not too surprising. Now, trees don't move too much, their branches sway, so we need to invent a plant-based movement. Let's look back to the Venus flytrap to find a solution. When something touches a small trigger hair within the mouth, it releases an electrical action potential based on calcium ions, which triggers the release of elastic energy. Adjusting water pressure in the tissue can be used to reshape the tissue as well. They also have a heat sensing system to trigger the reaction. Now, Jubokko could rely on a similar trick. The flytrap will not trigger unless a certain number of trigger hairs are pressed. This could explain why our tree doesn't attack smaller animals, but only larger creatures like humans. That means deer and bear could be amongst the bones found at its roots. I'd also place the triggers on the trunk, where a human would rest, or a deer might brush up. You could also place the heat-sensing components in the leaves above a human. When it detects movements beneath it, the branches will bend down and wrap around the human. It will need to be fast. The branches will need to entangle the prey in an instant, curl around you, and lift you up. Once bound, we move to the next stage. It drains the blood. Thankfully, all the texts I have found give a very good description. It stabs its prey with long, hollow, and thin branches like needles. This is exactly like how a phlebotomist draws blood. To create the suction that the Jubokko needs, we can turn to the natural suction that plants already use. Plants too suffer from evaporation. They lose a little water up in their leaves near the top, but this creates a suction-like force which helps draw water from its roots. Part of this is due to water's natural cohesion to other water molecules. Well, in this case, it will be your blood, but the same principle. Now, your body doesn't want to be drained of blood. As soon as it detects an open wound, it releases a coagulation compound to prevent blood loss. A simple anticoagulant will solve this. A really basic idea. Same trick used by mosquitoes. Now, Jubokko does have one final ability. It can mimic human sounds. The most likely option is just to create a series of hollow tubes that work like a wind instrument, like a flute. Very similar to the needle-like structure that sucks blood, but these need to be a bit larger, an inch or 2 centimeters across with more openings. The simplest sounds to make would be crying, screams, giggles, and laughs. Sounds that are incoherent, but understandable. Ones that could entice someone to come and look. I'm sure that hearing someone scream would be enough to convince an adventurer like yourself to come running and see what is happening. So, now that we know what we are battling, how do we defeat this tree? The first step is to avoid it. So, know your history. If there's a large-scale battle in the past, that is where you may find these trees. So, look around and see if you can find any signs of such a tree. Look for ones with bones near its base. They may be hidden under leaves and dust. Have a spell to generate a nice little breeze to blow the leaves around. If you hear a human sound, be careful looking around. You may be walking to range of the Jubokko. Also, look for a tree that is much darker than those around it. Well, how do we hurt this tree? All the tales speak of it being resistant to almost all magic. You can't exorcise the spirits in the tree, freeze it, charm it, or most other spells. But there is one school of magic that is well documented being useful here. Fire. Yes, a tree monster is weak to fire. Who would have thought? Yeah, light a torch and chuck it at the tree. Or spam fireballs. You'll need some kindling to get the fire to spread. A few smaller branches to get it going if you lack the full-on firepower. Just be careful that you don't burn down the whole forest, unless that is your plan to remove a whole bunch of them at once. It does have a second weakness, an axe. It can be chopped down. Keep swinging until it falls, or you could use a chainsaw. That would be faster if you can pull one out of your bag. But that means getting in close. And anyone who has cut down a tree can tell you that it takes some time. You're going through the grain, not with it. That will give it plenty of time to grab you. So what protection should we use? Something that can't be easily snagged. That takes out cloth. Chainmail could be pierced and still liable to some snagging. Plate will make you heavy and hard to lift up. But if a branch can find the right spot, it could still lift you up and bind your arms. To protect yourself, keep your arms free. As the tree tries to grab you, cut the branches. Use a shield to protect yourself. I wouldn't strap your shield on, just in case the tree grabs it. Ideally, have a partner there to clear the branches. A bow and arrow or crossbow isn't going to help. Unless you can set the arrow on fire and keep it on fire. That would be a little bit hard. I don't know if you could starve this tree out. Remove its access to water and let it dry out. That would take some time, and most trees have deep roots. Best to handle this quickly if you end up finding this one. While Jubokko is immune to magic, others are not. And there is one school of magic which could make this easy. What is it? Necromancy. It leaves a pile of bones from its prey. I'm sure they would love a chance at vengeance. Raise the bloodless skeletons up and toss them some axes. Chop chop. They'll cut it down. Since they are undead, no blood to be drained if cut. They have no body heat to trigger the heat sensors either. They sound like the perfect tool for this fight, don't you think? Jubokko is a strange foe. It can't chase you, so if you do find it, you could always just get up and walk away from it. No need to fight it right away, until you have a plan and have the tools to make this easy. This will put others in danger, but you could leave a sign to warn them. Some idiot will ignore a danger, keep out sign. This is an ambush foe, not an active hunter. It needs to grab and hold on to you. Even after it grabs you, it will take some time to drain your blood. Yet, it does have a few major weaknesses to exploit. Between those and its lack of mobility, I'm giving the Jubokko a 2 of 10 for difficulty. You are fighting a tree after all. So, you cut down a tree. I hope it wasn't too tough. What are you going to use the lumber for? You could build a house or a shield with the wood, but that wood does hold a high risk of being cursed. You would be making a haunted house. Yet, you could try making a staff or wand from the wood of this tree. It would not be a very good wand for healing magic, but for curses, it would be perfect for a maleficarum. What do you think? Would you use such a wand to channel your magic? The leaves can be used by alchemists for nefarious purposes. Witches can use it in their curses and hexes. The ground needs to be purified and excised before I would even try to cultivate it for farmland. This will be time consuming and require a lot of work, but it's better to be safe than sorry. You don't want another one sprouting up. The tree bound Captain Locke. He couldn't move. His mind swirled as his blood was being drained. Wouldn't be long now, yet he held the perfect weapon. Wriggling his fingers, he wove his spell. Flames erupted in his hand. Like a dragon, the flames poured forth and engulfed the tree. He caused the air to flow between the branches, make it sound like it was screaming. The wood turned black and charred. Cracking, the branches broke, and the man toppled to the ground. Smoke filled the air as ashes fell upon his shoulders. Taking a step back, Captain Locke let forth another torrent of flames, and held it until the tree was turned to a pile of smoldering embers on the ground. He rubbed his shoulders as he mounted his horse and rode onward. Yet he didn't see the eyes of someone watching him in the distance. Jubokko may sound like a dangerous foe, but so long as you are observant and knowledgeable, this should be an easy fight. Thank you for watching, adventurers. Please return next week where we shall face the Leshy. Until then, I'll see you on the roads.